Independence is an indictment against treason. How can a king commit treason? He can commit treason if there's a higher law. And that king is using that position of authority to usurp the higher law. That higher law is the law of nature, as a law of nature and of nature's God. The law of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the law of the supreme ruler of the universe, which, by the way, talking about fundamentals, Colorado Constitution. Colorado has a constitution. Colorado has a constitution and it has a preamble. We, the people of Colorado, with profound reverence for the supreme ruler of the universe. I wonder if that's the same king. If you remove the concept of an invisible king that rules your life from within, you have no basis upon which to assert the argument that we have freedom without. And to whatever degree that we have surrendered the idea that God is our king, to whatever degree that we believe that we can remove truth and justice and integrity and virtue and all those principles which are God, all those principles are the manifestation of God. All those principles are the manifestation of the kingdom of heaven on earth, and to whatever degree we are walking in those principles is the degree that we have the privilege of experiencing liberty by our Father who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. I wonder if that's the same kingdom that he's king in, that the founding fathers and those writers said, great God our King. I say all that to say this. Foundations are very important. Why would you build a foundation on sand? America has certain fundamental principles that are being ignored. One of those fundamental principles is that the many are one. The many are one. The e pluribus unum. How can many that are divided become one if they're not standing on some sort of agreement at the fundamental level? I just gave you the first and foremost, I think. The fact that we have an invisible king, and to whatever degree that we are acknowledging that king and trying that on in our lives, is the degree that we don't need government telling us what to do. To whatever degree we abdicate that principle is the degree that we need government telling us what to do. Did you catch that? We're out of balance here. We're out of balance. We want freedom, but we don't want the responsibilities that come with it. We want freedom, but we want somebody else to give us free health care. We don't want freedom. We want free stuff.
We don't have jobs in our economy to get by that stuff.
The government would have us give it taxes so that it can turn around and give us 47% of our budgetary needs in this state. The government wants to be our God. The problem is we have forgotten that the government is our agent. Does everybody know, just show of hands, no, I'm not even going to put the pressure on you. Does everybody know what a power of attorney is? Power of attorney, for those that don't know, is where I want to hire someone to do something for me. Typically represent me in matters of legal affairs, and so I'll fill out a little affidavit and I'll say I want you to do this and I do want you to do this, and while you're doing this, here's some things you can't do. And I sign it, notarize it. Now this guy walks around saying, look, I've got a power of attorney. I can act just like Dave. I'm his representative in these matters. Can he step outside that paper and still represent me? Can he pretend to? Let's say he steps outside the authority that I granted him on my power of attorney. He steps out that side authority and he goes and murders somebody, and he says that he did it in my name. He's my agent. He's got a power of attorney. The power of attorney I gave him was limited, though. It was saying, you may do these things, but not these things. But he got confused and got drunk one night and started getting the big head because he had access to my bank account and my debit card.
That's your fault.
Exactly. That's what our government has done. The government has received a power of attorney through us. It's called the Constitution. The Constitution says, here's what you may do, and while you're doing these things, here's some things you may not do. The so-called Bill of Rights is a bill of limitations on the power that was granted to the federal government. It is not the source of our rights. According to the principles of American law, at the fundamental level, our Creator has endowed us with certain unalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, according to Romans 13. It doesn't say that. Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That when a government becomes destructive of this end, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new safeguards. Now, according to Colorado Constitution, Article 2, Article 1, by the way, is the boundaries.
Thank you.
All political power is vested in and derived from the people. All government of right originates from the people, is founded upon their will only, and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. Section 2, Article 2, Section 2. The people of the state have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free, sovereign, and independent state, and to alter and abolish their government and form of constitution and form of government whenever they may deem it necessary to their safety and happiness. You see, this is why America will not fall. Because in America, when the government oversteps its boundary through a long train of abuses and usurpations that pursue invariably the same object, which is to evince a design to reduce the people under absolute despotism, we no longer just have a right, we have a duty to call that government to account because it has overstepped the boundaries of the power of attorney that we gave it. The Constitution specifically says that we have the right. The Declaration of Independence says we have the duty. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And all prudence has shown that mankind is more prone to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the form to which they've become accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce the people under absolute despotism, the people have a duty to throw off that government. What does that mean? Okay, does that mean pick up guns? No, it doesn't say that the people have a duty to pick up guns. Does it say that the people have a duty to throw off government? Yes. You know where that takes place? It takes right here. This is where it takes place. You throw it off up here, and you throw it off right here. Because if you don't, you're the one responsible for allowing your agent to usurp your authority and go do things your agent was never assigned to do. And to whatever degree that we remain silent is the degree that we continue to give our consent, and it's the degree that we're responsible for not being responsible. So,
I'm sorry.
what does it look like to be responsible in throwing off a government? That's the question that should be on the table right now. And we shouldn't be afraid to say it. I can show you a design evinced to reduce the people under absolute despotism, and that design is going back decades. The fact that they're just now getting around to the guns, this isn't the first sign. This is just the first one that many are waking up to. But once you start studying the gun control thing, if you're going to come to life on the Second Amendment, man, you better check out the First, the Third, the Fourth, the Fifth. You check them all out. But the most important one, I think, that we really need to consider with respect to what we're doing here is the 10th Amendment. All power, not delegated. Now listen, it doesn't say granted, it doesn't say given away, it says delegated. It's a delegation. It's held in trust. Here, I'm going to give you some power to represent me for a while. All power not delegated to the United States.
$5.
That's that term United States, it means federal government. All power not delegated to the federal government or prohibited by the Constitution to the states. Okay? Here's what the federal government may do. There's some things in the Constitution that says states may not do. In the federal Constitution, there are some things the states shall not do. All right, one more time. All power not delegated to the United States nor preserved or all power not delegated to the United States or prohibited by it to the states is reserved to the people. Is reserved to the states or to the people.
No pocket money.
What power is reserved to the people? The power to throw off a government is reserved to the people because the people in America, each individual state, are sovereign. Sovereign means ultimate, final say in a matter. If we continue to go down the road, and here's the line, oh, here's the line, and here's the line, oh, here's the line, here's the line, don't cross that line. You know what, there's no plate, you know what, that's what we've been doing. We think another election's going to fix it, doing the same thing over and over again. We think being divided in a conservative Republican Party is somehow going to overcome the divisions in the other party. A nation divided against itself cannot stand, will not stand. Jesus said a nation divided against itself goes into desolation. So we are so divided. We are so divided religiously, politically, economically. Is there any way that we haven't been divided? Pastors, in your pulpits, you better understand when you say Romans 13 that in America there is no Caesar, but God is king. And the people in this equation are the body politic. And inside this body politic, we have freedom. And now, that is the idea that America's pilgrims and separatists came over here. That was the seed that they planted, and we have forgotten who we are. Here's the solution. Wake up to who we are. Every one of you sitting here is a child of the Most High Creator of the universe. Get your mind around that. I don't care what denomination you are. We have that in common, that we are children of the Creator. This is supposed to be a playground. Earth is a playground. And someone has come in and has reduced us to human resources that can be plundered and sheared and beaten and put down. And that's what America's dilemma right now is we think that the government has the authority to this because somehow the churches have persuaded us that we have to submit and obey. Submit and obey. Submit and obey. For there's no other way. I don't agree with that. The founding fathers found a loophole around the divine right of kings, and they found that loophole in the scripture. Jesus was killed for it. Why did they kill Jesus? Because he stood up to an oppressive authority that had no foundation, and he exposed that, and he scared the lawyers and the Sadducees, and he scared everyone in power because they understood that if he was to continue preaching, that Rome would come and take away their nation and their place, and the people would start listening to him, and they would turn the whole world upside down. And isn't that exactly what happened? And isn't that the real reason that Christianity is so dangerous? Because when we finally wake up to who we are and the power that we have, there is no stopping us. We have the truth on our side. We have the law on our side. We have mercy on our side. We have grace. We have vision. We have leadership. We have everything we need. And every one of you need only pray for that gift that you've been given to come to fruition so that when we stand up and act responsibly together, no weapon forged by man will prevail against us. So, RS 2477, a little bitty nugget passed by the legislature, Congress, back in 1863 or 1866, an old mining law, said that all rights of ways that were established are protected. Mining road, logging road, take your sheep to market road, those are all protected by federal law. The law was repealed in 1976, but its effects were not. The RS 2477 issue, when taking our lands back, it is the most powerful tool. And we did an experiment in Pitkin, Colorado here just several months ago. Knowing that a road that had just been closed in Pitkin was a 2477 road, the men of Pitkin were very upset because most of the roads around Pitkin have been closed. The men were very disgruntled and angry and basically trying to figure out what we do about this because it seemed hopeless. The government is taken over. What are we going to do? Someone threw a dare out. Let's just go open one. Well, of course, the first reaction was the subject got changed. No, we're not going to go there. No, that would require courage. That would require civil disobedience and all those really dirty things that we're told not to do by our pulpits and our politicians that don't understand freedom. They understand dogma, they understand the status quo, and they are really good at maintaining it. And we see a design that is a bit advanced to reduce us under absolute despotism. All right, so the greater duty includes the less. The duty to throw off a government includes everything underneath that. And understand this, when that power of attorney was granted and that agent of mine broke the power of attorney, I had the responsibility to prosecute him for his crime. And if I didn't, that was the same and tantamount to consent. But isn't that what we as an American people are doing? Sin by silence. Somebody come along and fix it. If we just get the right guys in office, if only Jesus would rapture us out of here.
That'd work.
So we decided to take matters into our own hands. Gandhi tried it. Jesus tried it. Martin Luther King tried it. Malcolm X talked about it. There's a whole bunch of people that have thought about it, so we decided to go open a road. No more talk. We're tired of the talk. We're just tired of more talk and more committees and more hoops. So we got together and decided to go open a road, and that's what we did. We went to go open a road, and we showed up one morning, and lo and behold, the Forest Service showed up there and told us that we couldn't do that. But we weren't interested in whether we could do it or not. We just showed up to do it. There was no not do it. That wasn't on the table. We showed up, a work party showed up to go open a road, and that's what we did. Well, of course, the Forest Service guy, he was a ranger, he rattled his chains, and the Forest Service, LEO, tree police had her gun on, and they tried to explain to us how this wasn't the right way to go about it, that there's authority set up and that we need to follow the rules, and and the longer that they talked to us, they realized that we were going to go open that road, and we were willing to go to jail. Let me tell you what, that is the key. You all sound like you're willing to pick up a gun and defend your rights, but are you willing to go to jail in a demonstration where you're on the right side and you're exercising your freedom to a point where it creates a very uncomfortable circumstance?
Absolutely.
That's called a confrontation. But we were willing to go there. We were willing to go to jail because we wanted to bring this thing to a head. Now, we were gambling.
That's her album.
I was pretty sure we weren't going to get arrested, but I gave my wallet and my keys to my wife anyway and said, you better hold these. But it was interesting. It became contagious. Each one of us had a beef, and so everybody was expressing themselves. There was probably about 15 guys. The Forest Service guy couldn't figure out which one of us was the leader. That's because there wasn't one. Okay, we didn't form a committee and we didn't have a bulletin.